Good evening. It's Thursday night, and you're here with Platinum Convos and Intellectual Radio Studio with El Montague. Hello, everyone. And tonight I have a special guest with me. Her name is Melissa Lee West. Hello, Melissa.
Hello. How are you?
How are you?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
So I think last week, what did we talk about? I don't even know what we talked about last week. I usually try to say what we talked about last week so we can move into what we're talking about this week. And I can't even remember. I think I've had way too many shows now. Not really, but I can't even remember. But this week, we are going to talk about The Alchemist and basically what is all the jazz about The Alchemist and why people are talking about it. And the reason why it's our subject today is because I have been like a YouTube scholar, like the last couple of weeks. When I mean YouTube scholar, I've just been all over YouTube, reading, listening to audio after audio after audio, and interview after interview and after interview. And I fell into this Pharrell Williams interview.
Okay.
And Pharrell was talking about how he had the hit song Happy,
right,
and how it really changed his life because he was really into music and producing and all that good stuff for years and years and years in the background after the Neptunes. And he said, you know, what really changed my life and inspired and motivated me, he said, The Alchemist. And I was like, The Alchemist.
Google. Right.
Yeah, Google. I actually read it in high school.
Okay.
I read it in high school, and I was like, The Alchemist.
Right.
And then you know how YouTube gets in that loop and it goes to the next interview.
Right.
And then it went on to Will Smith. And Will Smith is talking about how he's expanding and acting and getting all these different roles and what's making him successful and being and doing what he wants to do and creating his own lemonade out of lemons. And he said, you know what's inspired me? And in the interview, and he was like, The Alchemist. Heard it twice. So I'm like, well, something is going on, something I missed out on with The Alchemist when I first read it. Because if successful people keep saying The Alchemist, I need to go back to it. If successful people are saying it, something is with it that I need to go back to it. And that's exactly yes, I did Google at that point, Melissa.
Google University.
Yes, I did Google at that point to say, hey, let's go back to that. Let's go back to that. So The Alchemist, I'm going to give everyone a little bit of a summary. I'm not going to tell you everything about the book. And we don't have, so the book is written by an author. His name is Paulo Coelho.
Yeah.
It's like a Brazilian. You know, I'm not Spanish, so you know.
It's close. I think it's Paulo Coelho, something like that.
You sound so much better. And, you know,
like that.
I'm going to blame mine on the South. I'm from the South, so
Me
I can't
too.
pronounce it. Okay, I can't even go there.
But I was born in Spain, so I think I
Okay, let me hear you say it again.
It's not perfect now. Paulo Coelho.
Okay, yeah, that's it. I think that's it. And he wrote this book. It's just like a book about mysticism, a boy in the desert searching for his dreams. Paulo Coelho, he wrote this book in 1988.
Okay.
And it has been a top-selling book since then. He's sold over 2 million copies. He's been like straight for 400 weeks on the top-selling list of New York Times. Like this book is like forever living on. And I looked up an interview about him. He said that he always wanted to be a writer, but he never wrote anything. And he decided to write at age 40. And this is what came.
Magic number.
Yeah, and that's what I know, right? I know. It's a magic number for me.
Yeah, it is for me too.
I'm not going to tell anybody why. I guess you can guess. So he just wrote this book, and it's just been phenomenal. And so I don't have him here today to interview him, I have you, Melissa.
Okay. I'll be your consolation prize.
Yes. So we're going to have regular people having a regular conversation about what we learned in the theme of the book. So, Melissa, I know you. So, I'd rather for you to give an introduction to the audience and let them know who you are, what you do.
Okay.
When we know that you're not the writer of the book, but we'll deal with that. You're just as good. But
okay. Well, thanks for having me.
Yes.
My name is Melissa West. I am a Southern girl. I am from Augusta, Georgia originally.
Woo-hoo!
Go Georgia.
I love Georgia too.
Yeah, go Georgia. I'm a military spouse. My husband's in the Navy, so we relocated to the Chicago area about 7 years ago. And I've been stuck in this winter ever since. But the good thing is I met great people. So meeting you years ago in the airport, even that I believe is kind of consistent with today's topic.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. So I met you a few years ago in the airport. And a little bit about me. I own Fit for Legacy. That's my business. I'm consulting. I'm writing a book right now that's really talking about your legacy, your legend. So again, it's consistent with what we're talking about today. Adult stepchildren and 1 dog. And that's about enough about me.
Yeah, that is so funny. So people, please believe if you see me in the airport at any time, I am open to making new friends. That's exactly how I met Melissa. I was walking through. I think I was traveling back and forth from Chicago to Alabama at one time. Every 2 weeks. You were. And then I bumped into this fabulous lady at the bar because we were both waiting on our flights. And we've been friends ever since. Yes. So if you see me and you don't want to communicate and you don't want a friend and you see me in the airport, you should just avert your eyes and keep moving in the other direction. Other way. Yes, because I pick up friends at the airport.
Me too.
Yes. So I think if we just dive into it, because I know the audience, they're going to be like, why do I really care about this book? I think if we just deep dive into it with a high level summary, just to give them some flavor, and then they can get an idea by actually reading the book or downloading the audio. It's only 2-hour audio. 2 hours and 34 minutes.
2 hours and some change, but less than 3.
Yeah, pretty quick. Pretty quick read. Listen to, and then a quick read because it's only 176 pages, I believe. So it's so easy to read. It's like a bedtime story. So it's so easy. But let's talk about some of the themes. Okay. Some of the themes. So I think one of the top themes that stood out to me in the book was love never keeps a man from pursuing his destiny. So before I even talk about the theme, I'm hoping that everyone is clear that this is a book about a person having a dream, and the dream basically is in the language of God. God gave the man the dream. God gives all of us our dreams. And so he goes on a quest and a journey to pursue his dream and get to the treasure. Right? He's told in his dream that he's going to find this marvelous treasure at the pyramids. And so he starts transforming his life from being a shepherd to all types of different things, that he becomes someone new at the end of the book, and then he actually reached the destiny. He gets beaten, he's robbed multiple times, he's tricked, he gets different jobs, but all along the way, he still has these little nuggets, little people coming into his life that he listens to, and he keeps moving on the path to his destiny. That's basically the big picture of the book. I love it. So let's go back to love never keeps a man from pursuing his destiny. And if we think about this and apply this to life, from what I know, I would say that a lot of people would have a hard time with this.
Believing that it's true?
Yes. Yeah. Love never keeps a man from pursuing his destiny. And the reason why I say that is that let's think of how so many times in everyday life, a man or a woman has a dream, and then they get wrapped up into their family. Right? So you get wrapped up in your family with a wife, especially if you're a man and you're a husband and you have a wife, and then you start thinking, oh, I can't continue to play with my dream. I can't continue to play with my passion. I have a family now. So I have to get a real job. Right? So in this book, it talks about that. And what the author says in the book is that basically, no, love should never block you from your dream. Basically, because if you don't pursue your dream, you will have regrets. And if you have regrets, then all of that negativity of when you say, I wish I could, I should have, would have, could have, all of that goes into play. You're basically poisoning your spirit, poisoning who you are, and also poisoning your family.
Absolutely.
And resenting your family because you're not able to continue on that.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts about that theme?
I think it hits the nail on the head, number one. I think we often blame love or our relationships or our responsibilities for why we don't pursue our destiny. I think the underlying reason is fear. So we get afraid of if I fail, then what's going to happen? So it's easy to attach yourself to what you're responsible for than it is to really go after your dream. So I definitely think if you have a supportive family around you, they're going to want to see you accomplish your dreams. But it depends on where they are too, right?
No. And so, you know what? I have to admit that I have, in my experience, I may have been a person. Okay, I'm just, okay, wait a minute. If anybody knows my ex-husband, so somebody on watching may know my ex-husband, because he probably will have a totally
different opinion.
Yes, but I do remember a time when I was a person.
Did you say get a real job?
when I was a person, and my ex-husband was traveling around with his rap.
Mm-hmm.
He had a rap group, and actually they were really, really, really good. They were called the Big Six. I was there before we were married. I was there in all these hole in the walls, going to Atlanta, just going to all these little places along, in the South, in Birmingham or whatever, grimy places. Being ratchet, I enjoyed it.
But you were ride or die at that point, right?
Yeah, I was ride or die then. I was getting me a man. That was before we were married. I was getting me a man, and he was talented. And so, I was at all of the shows and all of that. And then, he was getting a little bit older. He was older than me. And we got married, and, we had a home, and I was working a regular 9 to 5. And of course I said, well, we need some consistent money coming in.
Right.
I never said, stop doing what you're doing. I said, consistent money coming in. So, I can own up to being a person that possibly could have pressured him in that particular instance
to stop short.
Yeah. And so I don't know. Maybe he resented me for it, or, maybe not. Are you listening? Did you resent me? I never heard it in couples counseling. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sincerely sorry. But so in the book, it's saying, because the main character in the book is in love.
Right. Fatima.
Yes, he's in love with her, and he's dreaming about her for years.
Right.
Excuse me. For years before he even gets to see her, and he's just dreaming and dreaming and dreaming, and then he actually sees her, and she accepts his love, and she says, "No, you don't have to stay with me. Go and pursue your dream," and he does.
Right. And she also mentions too the pattern she had seen before. I think there was something she mentioned about what other shepherds do, about how they travel the world. So it's almost like she had an expectation that he needed to follow his path. So that may play a part too into how supportive your family is. What did they see before? What are they used to? So she did mention that she expected him to do that. Not only did she expect him to come back, she expected him to follow his path too.
That makes so much sense. So ladies, let your man Follow his dream so he can be happy. And then also for women,
Mm-hmm.
I know for us, a lot of times when we're thinking about pursuing our dream, it's about responsibilities with children.
Right.
So am I still being a good mother if I'm working and then I'm spending some time outside the home doing the things that I enjoy?
Right.
That's my passion.
Right.
And then you feel guilty that you're not spending this time taking your
At
kids back and forth to soccer.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's a real feeling.
That's what they tell me. I didn't experience it, but that's what they tell me.
I know. I have a child. I don't experience that.
She's 14 now, so she's got her own life now.
She's got her own life. Yeah, she's had it for a while. But yeah, that's another example of we should not allow those responsibilities and ties to family members and people that we love to stop us.
Right. And I think the healthy relationships requires that you have that conversation too, right? How do you, when my husband and I, we went to counseling years ago and we were talking about finding that happy medium, it didn't have to be all or nothing. It didn't have to be throw everything away and pursue your dreams, but what can we commit to or agree upon that, okay, we can invest $1,000. And once we hit $1,000, okay, let's reevaluate whatever that.
Yeah.
But that's something that we had to engage a counselor for to even help us to get to that, because we were just on opposite sides of the issue. But that's what helped us.
That's a
with
good
that conversation.
Idea. Maybe I should have thought about that.
I didn't think about it either. I was all or nothing, but definitely, having that conversation about, what's reasonable and when do we reevaluate? Do we do it for 6 months and reevaluate? When do we say when do we take pause? And go do something steady for 9 to 5. Because even in the book, he got a job, right?
He got a job after
he got robbed.
After he got robbed. He hit rock bottom.
He did.
He hit rock bottom.
He
had to get a job.
He did.
And he got all his money back,
and then
times 2.
Right.
So that he can go to the next leg. It's amazing.
And he always stayed connected to the source of his wisdom too, because even when he got robbed, he still had those 2 stones. You remember?
Right.
So it's almost like regardless, he always had his relationship with God and hearing that wisdom to keep him going. I believe to keep him going. It's like, you still have these stones. You still, I've given you instructions. So yeah.
I love that. Because, I keep going back, and I mentioned this one time before when we started the conversation. Mm-hmm. Your dream is the language of God.
Yeah, that's good.
That's so powerful. If you have a dream and it's in the language of God, that means your dream is planted in your mind for you by God. So how can you not do it? And how can you best honor him? By actually being active and following up on the dream that's been placed in your heart for you to do. So it's like, yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the second thing. The second theme is the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself. No heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams. Let's listen to that again. The fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself.
That's deep. But if you think about it, how many times do you not act because of what might happen? What could happen? What your friends and family told you could happen. But then when you actually take that leap, even though there's an uncertainty there, you also have this energy pushing you because you're pursuing your dream. I noticed when I left my full-time job and started pursuing my businesses, I had hard days. I had days I was up all night. We talk about that all the time. But the next day I still woke up with, I get to do this again today and check off how far I got yesterday.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Okay. So I want to step back and think about the fear that you felt when you quit your job. Because number one, you got a family.
That's real.
You got a husband.
That's real.
Who has an opinion of whether you should work or not, right?
Absolutely.
And you got bills to pay.
Absolutely.
So, what did that feeling feel like? Like in terms of fear, what were you really thinking about? What type of fear did you have the most?
this time, because I've done it twice, this time it was
you're like the guy.
I'm like the guy.
Like,
I'll tell you, the first time that I decided to go into business for myself full time, the fear definitely was what impact it would have on my relationship. We were newly married at that time, and I had a plan, I had money saved and everything, but we didn't agree on the timing. So that first time, that fear was real. The second time, the most recent time, it was more so fear of not reaching my destiny. So it was a different fear. The first time was, I hope he can handle this ride.
Right.
And we did. We had like a 3-month trial. It didn't go so well. And I ended up going back to work full time. But when I went back to work full time, this time I had more money saved up when I left. I had more money I had invested. And I also had more of a determination this time as well. This time I had gone through seeing people pass away. And every time somebody passes away in my life, I'm like, tomorrow is not promised. So my fear this time is not reaching my destiny, not living out my legend, as he talks about in the book.
Right. So I had a similar story on my journey. So in 2012, I basically took a break from working, a hiatus from working, and I went back and I started my business, and I spent a lot of time doing activism. And one of my fears at the time was that, okay, I'm going to run out of money and not be able to support myself.
Right.
Because the business that I started was more of like a social business. So I wasn't trying to make a lot of money, but the business model was to be able to provide jobs to people
right.
at a higher level and give them an opportunity to have career development and growth.
Right.
And so a lot of the fear that I had in making, being able to make my mortgage payment, I thought about it and stressed about it. But I cannot think of a time when I had payroll. So it's a different type of fear when you got people on payroll.
Absolutely.
Because you have checks coming in.
Right.
And a lot of times when you have people on payroll, you pay the people and you don't get paid.
Right. Makes sense.
Happens.
Yeah.
But I was in that situation, and I cannot remember a time that I didn't have gas money, that I didn't make my mortgage payment,
right,
that I didn't have lunch.
Right.
Somehow things were taken
Provision
care
was
of.
there.
Yeah. And so all of the fear that I had and stress that I had when I went through this period of time, I suffered before I even put myself through the suffering.
Right.
When I was in there, I'm like, that's not that bad. It's almost like when you get the extra earring,
right,
the extra hole in your ear.
You're like, dreading it, right?
You're dreading it. And then it's over. Boom.
That's all.
Yeah, that's
right.
it.
That's right. Yeah. But you're right. We created in our mind first that fear and and it really is suffering, the anxiety and the worry. It really is suffering. And I think when you're working a 9 to 5, you kind of get lulled to sleep too, because you got that cushion. Even if you mismanage your money on this paycheck, the next paycheck it's coming. So that cushion is what you kind of get used to. But when you're working for yourself, there's not that cushion usually, especially when you're just starting out. I'm not saying it can't get there, but when you're just starting out, it's not there.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is perceived safety, because when you work a 9 to 5, a company can let you go when they feel like
at any moment.
At any moment, and you're not ready.
And it happens.
Most of us are one paycheck away from being out on the street and not being able to make our ends meet. So yeah, so it's like, I think, a false sense of security sometimes with jobs, because everyone's replaceable.
It's all about the bottom line.
Yes, everyone is replaceable. It could take you 6 months, 9 months, and if you to find another job. And if you get unemployment, which you paid into, it's a small percentage of what you
got. Absolutely.
Right. So that's not going to meet your budget. So if you think about it, okay, if I'm going to put myself, I want to call it shackles, shackles and slavery and working a job.
It was for me this last period.
It better be something that you just love to do.
Absolutely. Right.
Because if you get out and hustle, and you hustle, somehow it still works out.
Absolutely.
Because guess what? You're hustling because you have a vision and a dream that's put in you by God, right? By the
And
universe.
it's giving you that energy.
Yeah.
It's giving you that perseverance that you don't get that when you're working for somebody else's vision. You don't.
You don't get it.
You don't. Not at all.
Interesting. I like that one, actually. That
I
was
do.
a hard one.
It is. It's real. It's so real. It's
very,
so real.
very hard one. That one's a really hard one.
When you've read enough obituaries, though, you kind of get over it. You get over it. At least for me.
I know, right?
Yeah. That's my push for sure.
So, I mean, that's actually a really good point, because I say some crazy things sometimes, but I think about like my eulogy.
Mm-hmm.
So when I pull together my goal sheet of things I want to do in my bucket list,
right?
Because I want to do crazy things. And next thing on my bucket list is I want to ride a mule down into the Grand Canyon.
A mule?
Yes, I think it's so, because the mule is surefoot. It's not gonna fall.
Okay.
That's what I heard.
And they have you strapped in?
No, you're just hanging on it.
Oh, okay.
But you just hold on to the mule. Let's
talk about that a little bit more.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
But it sounds intriguing to me. Like, I want to do it.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it?
No, I'll watch you do that one. No.
Yeah,
no.
So when I'm coming up with my bucket list of things I want to do, goals and organizations I want to be involved in, I actually think about my eulogy.
I do.
What is the pastor going to say, or my friend,
right, about your life,
gonna say about me after I'm gone?
I think that's natural.
And wouldn't it be a shame for me to miss out on something that I could easily do, but I'm just too fearful to even start?
Right. That's real.
I want you guys to hear about the mule. I'm gonna have to schedule that.
Get your GoPro camera, put it on your head.
I'll share it on Facebook.
There you go.
Facebook Live.
I'll watch
all
it.
of that.
I will watch it.
All of that. Okay, so I know, right? I know.
That's a new one.
So, okay, so let's talk about another thing. These are some actually really good things, actually. People are capable at any time in their lives of doing what they dream of. So this is about timing. People are capable at any time in their lives of doing what they dream of. What are you thinking about this? So there's no such thing as too old or too young when it comes to chasing your dreams.
I think that's true. I think if it's a God-given dream, he's going to have you attract the people that you need regardless of the time. I do feel like timing still matters, though. I think if you strike out when you first get the instruction, you may have, let's just say you've got a circle of 12 supporting you. If you wait too long, you might have a circle of 3 supporting you.
That's true.
I think that's real. I also feel like, though, your dream it has so much more attached to it than just you. It's the lives that you're going to impact. So I believe that God loves his creation so much, he still wants them to be blessed. He still wants you to impact the lives you're supposed to impact. So a good, loving God is not going to say, oh, you missed it, too late. You might have to tweak it. You might have to partner with somebody if you missed it the first time. I believe that. But I still think you're capable. I think you still have the goods. You get them at creation.
Well, like we were saying before, I mentioned before, Paulo Coelho wrote his first book at 40, and he claimed to be a writer. He always said, I'm a writer, but he waited till 40 to be able to actually do it. That's like amazing. And then, and I think about even what I'm doing with this talk show. I was doing a little, like, it wasn't a radio. I don't know what it was called. It was called JTV when I was in high school. It was the morning announcement.
Okay.
The morning announcements where, it was just like a video. You go into the studio and you sit down. I think I was in 10th grade. And I love doing JTV. It was just something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. But for some reason, my life went in another direction. I wanted to be a journalist. My life went in another direction of chemistry, and I got a job in chemistry. Then I got a job in pharma, and started just working, taking care of my family. And here I am. It's like 30, no, not 30, maybe 20, 25 years later that I get an opportunity
to do it again,
to fall in my lap.
Right.
Just fall in my lap.
Wow.
To start, trying,
right,
and trying to go back and fulfill something that I really enjoy is a passion.
Wow.
Which is what I'm doing now with Platinum Convos.
Yeah.
So like that's a huge time lapse.
It is. But I don't think it's a mistake. I think when we're young, and Paulo talks about that in the book too, when you're young, you don't have the inhibitions. You don't have the mental blocks that say you should be afraid. When you did JTV, you didn't think to be afraid. You were like, this is fun.
No.
Right. You didn't think about the opinions of others.
I didn't think about if anybody knows me, I didn't really think about what came out of my mouth much at all. Yeah, that's to my regret. I didn't think about it until it was out of my mouth and someone else said to me, maybe you shouldn't have said that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny. But I think that childhood wonder, and the faith that children have, they don't come into this world thinking that there are limitations. We give them limitations.
Yeah, we give them limitations. So fear again.
Right. It's fear.
And also I think one of the things that comes up in the book is something about omens, being open to the omens. So what that means is when the opportunity presents itself, do you jump on it? The opportunity is coming in your face. Do you jump on it? So like even for how did I find myself in this radio show is because Darcy, who has a different show, she was looking for a co-host, and I just so happened to have the time, and I came down and filled in and started working on her show. That's how I found the radio station randomly.
Wow.
So the opportunity came, and I was like, I don't know if I have time for it, but I'll make time for it. I didn't say no.
Right.
I didn't say no. I just went ahead and tried it.
Yep. And things will adjust around what you choose to do.
Right. Things will adjust.
They will.
So I think that's another theme, and it's not the one that we're talking about. But at any time in our lives, if it's something that we really want to do, that we really want to try to do, we can make ways or find ways for it to happen. And even if it's something like, you want to travel the world. People want to travel the world and you want an opportunity to travel. Then, if you see or someone asks you to join a mission group, okay, that's an opportunity for you to travel.
Right.
To do international mission. Or if you see an opportunity for you to have a side gig or a side hustle doing the travel.
Right.
The vacation. You do it.
I do.
How did you
FitForLegacyTravel.com.
I didn't realize that.
Yes.
Tell us. Okay, so how did you start?
So I first started doing it in 2008. When I first got married. We were going to Japan. So the timing was perfect for me. I love to travel. I was born into a military family, so I had the bug early. And so I started in 2008. We moved to Japan. I didn't keep the travel business up because I found a job.
Because you found a job.
Because I found a job. So then fast forward several years, I guess last year I was reintroduced to the same company through a different connection. And I signed back up, reactivated my travel agency and Fit for Legacy Travel. And with that, we're building relationships. So I'm doing so much more than travel. Like we're going to do a Mama and Me cruise. So for mothers and daughters, we're doing Golden Years cruise. So things that I've experienced in my life, I'm able to kind of tie that in. When my father passed away, it became my mother and I, mother and I, and seeing her go through the different stages of life and, give up on life sometimes. How can I reintroduce her to things that she forgot through a trip?
That's smart.
Yeah. So that's one thing that we're doing. So I got back into the business, not just for the income, but because I love to travel. I was doing it anyway. So why not make the commission, make the money, but also enjoy my life.
At
I
the
just
same
got back from a
time.
cruise.
At the same time.
Absolutely. At
And
the
so,
same
like,
time.
if you could do that, like recognize in the now, what makes you feel good, and you're doing something,
right.
and your work is leading toward your passion.
Right.
I mean, how can you lose?
Absolutely.
The only thing about it is making sure that you have enough income for you to live.
Right. Right.
But we always find out how to live somehow.
Real, because it's easy. In this time, my overhead was low too. When I left my job this last time, my overhead is lower. When I first left my job, I had a mortgage, I had other things going on. This time, it's very low. So if I got to eat peanut butter and jelly one day, it's okay.
It's okay because you're happy.
Because I'm happy.
You know, that's a lot. A lot of people are going toward the minimalist way of living.
Absolutely.
Have you guys heard about the minimalist way of living? I don't see it on Facebook. Yeah, so the minimalist way of living. Oh, we have a call? The minimalist way of living is more about just downsizing, going well below what you need, getting rid of your stuff.
Clutter, yeah.
Getting rid of your stuff and staying away from stuff. Sure. So that you can have the time and the space.
Right.
Hello. Do we have someone on the line?
You do.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Is that Michael?
Wonderful. It is.
How are you?
Wonderful. Pleasantly busy.
Oh, that's good. Thank you for calling in. Are you calling in to add in to our discussion about the Alchemist?
Oh, absolutely.
Good. I know that this is like one of your things that you like to talk about and that you're into as well. We're actually just talking a little bit about some things, and we're talking down through some. Actually, I think the next thing is a great one for you to give your thoughts on, because it's nice to have a man to talk about it as well, so that people don't think this is just a feminine thing. This is all
chime in.
Yeah, this is all woman stuff. This is not. This is for everybody, right?
Right.
So the next thing that we want to talk about is, I think this is the most beautiful theme in the entire book. This is my opinion, just my opinion. The most beautiful theme in the entire book is about when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. Do you got some thoughts on that, Michael?
I do. First thing is I think people have a misunderstanding of what the universe actually is. The universe is not everything that's outside of you. The universe is everything that's within you. After I read The Alchemist, I delved a little deeper into alchemy. And there's a saying in alchemy, as above, so below. But also, what is within, so without. So sometimes when people hear the universe, they thinking of space, everything outside of that. But the universe is everything that's within you. You are the center. Each and every individual is the center of the universe, of their universe. So it's not that there's necessarily outside forces that are working on your behalf. It's the inside forces that creates everything.
You know what? And I heard that. I heard, like, that's the way that Will Smith thinks of it, because he said in his interview, and it's funny that you said that, in Will Smith's interview, when he talked about that, he said 2 + 2 = 4 for you. But if I want 2 + 2 to equal more than 4, I can make that happen, because it's what I decide I want to be and how I see myself moving to the next level, that I can become that, and I will get the support to become exactly what I want. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Because I mean, and really piggybacking off of what he's saying, basically what he's saying is everybody has their own viewpoint, and how you figure out, or how your universe within you figures out how to get you from point A to point B, Your point A and point B may be different than mine, but we still have to get to that point.
It makes sense. It makes sense. So it's like, so when I think about it, it's like what you think about, what you bring about, and what you put all your focus and energy on, what you put your positive thoughts on. Your mind is on it. You're totally focused on that. You want this thing. You're talking about it in a positive way, that you're getting this thing, and you start walking in the way, in the action. You have to move. You got to be action oriented to get that thing.
Right.
And it's the creative power regardless, because you can choose something that's not best for you and you'll still create it. You'll still get it. You'll still get it.
That's true.
It's the creative power.
That's very true. It's really like, now when I look at the Alchemist, above, so below, it really like gives me balance, because anytime I feel like I'm suffering through something, okay, the suffering it can be either the above or below, but there's something opposite and equal to that for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the feelings and emotions that I have while I'm going through this suffering, do I have the equal and same emotions and feelings when I'm getting that opposite and equal? You know, so it gives you balance, because you got to figure out, okay, if I act this way when I'm going through my hardest time, how am I acting when I'm going through my best of time? And then what you got to do is remember that feeling that you had when you're going through that best of time, and anchor it to when you're going through your bad times, to help you get out of that bad time.
That's good too. Being thankful and grateful.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's like what is it called? Excuse me. Every action has an equal
and opposite reaction.
That's physics. That's physics.
Yeah. So
yeah, but, I mean, it's true. It's true in life. It's true in life. I mean, just, you know, but a lot of the times, especially how I used to be, if something bad happened to me, I would harbor on it for a long time. I would just harbor on it, and it's not healthy, you know. But if I had something great happen to me, I would always think, well, you know, that's not gonna last too long. So I'll enjoy it now, but it's not gonna last too long. So after I started learning about alchemy, after reading The Alchemist and reading other alchemy books, it started to make more sense for me to if I'm gonna harbor on the bad stuff, I'm gonna harbor on the good stuff too. And what I'm gonna try to do is create the opposite of when I was harboring so long on the bad, and start harboring so long on the good, and not thinking it's gonna end so soon.
He's actually bringing up something else that's in the book too, about, you know, the power of the present and just focusing on now. And Paulo says, he says that, you know, he doesn't think about the future or the past. It's just now. And really now is all there is.
Now is all there is.
Because now is all you promised. And you can't do nothing about yesterday. And tomorrow you have no idea about.
So, Michael, since you joined us a little bit late, and thank you for calling in. Actually, you're the first caller on my show. I love it.
Hey.
I want to send you a prize.
Yeah, that'd be $5.
I was gonna say, because I don't have a prize. I don't have a prize, but I can think of one to send to you. I'll come up with.
I want my $5 in nickels, please.
In nickels, wow.
Yeah, all nickels.
But so how did you actually get into like thinking about alchemy? Is it something that just?
It's funny that you mentioned Will Smith, because I saw the YouTube video of him maybe about 5 years ago, and he was talking about this book called The Alchemist and how real it was, and you know how it impacted his life. And Will Smith is very successful, and like for years I have read self-help books. Like in college, you know, I was all about Think and Grow Rich or Black Choice, you know, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay.
You know, I was always into that, you know. So when I heard Will Smith talk about The Alchemist and how real it was, and like alchemy is real, I mean, he was just going on and on about it. I said, well, you know, let me check this out. You know, so when I read the book, I was like, wow, that's deep. And then they what was kind of cool, they kind of mentioned about the Moors. And I had been, you know, kind of studying the Moors and how, you know, the Moors and how every time the Moors was mentioned, it was like, it was a wind coming from a certain direction, you know, and it brought a little fear to them, you know. But it was just telling how powerful the Moors were. So it was just kind of right in line with what I was already, you know, starting to get into, you know. So, and after reading the book, then that's when I started getting other alchemy books, you know, kind of explaining the basics of alchemy and, you know, how there's different types of alchemy. You have plant alchemy, you have metal alchemy, you have earth or rock alchemy, you know. So and it started to kind of explain those things, and then explaining the background on, you know, religion and the basics, you know, of religion, and how really all religions are very much related but come from the same source, you know. And it just grew from there. And then what I started to notice is that I started to look at things differently, and then start learning about the Philosopher's Stone and things of that nature. And then I guess the biggest change for me was, at first I was looking for an outside object to be like my Philosopher's Stone, a mentor, or, you know, somebody that I could, you know, ask about alchemy. And then I started thinking, I was like, well, why look without? Why don't you look within? Why don't you start to become your own Philosopher's Stone? You know, what works for you might not work for somebody else, and what works for somebody else might not work for you. And basically, what I started to see is a different type of confidence being built when I started thinking, okay, how should I approach this, or how should I do this? And if I think I should be able to do this, why should I hesitate? You know, so it got me to stop, you know, being so like, oh shoot, if I do this and it don't work out the way that I want it to, then, you know, man, that's not gonna be good. I stopped doing that. I started just like, okay, if I want to invest in this stock, whether I know if it's gonna work or not, I'm not no stockbroker or anything like that. I don't need anybody else's, you know, opinion, you know, to tell me don't do it. But I'm gonna do it anyway, even if they tell me not to do it, because that's what I want to do. And if I lose, I lose. If I win, then I win. You know, and I think, like, for me, that was a huge step, because I would always be afraid to take a bigger risk. I would take a safe bet as opposed to a big risk. And if you don't risk it big, you can't win big. If you always play safe, you always gonna win safe, or you're gonna lose safe. But there's never any extremes in that.
That is so true. You know, you're touching on so much. You're touching on so much good stuff right now, Michael, because in the Pharrell Williams, because everybody has a different perspective and they understand it differently when they read it. But in the Pharrell Williams interview, he talks about a very similar thing when he said that he was working when he was with the Neptunes and he was producing, and he, you know, all of his boys were getting big. Kanye was getting big. Jay-Z was being big, and he was like in the background. And then finally, and he, you know, he was doing all the music for them or whatever, and they were becoming successful. And then finally, when he did his first album, he said he came out, instead of looking within and being who he was and what made him successful and what he does, he imitated Jay. He said he did something like Jay, and his first album by him, solo album, it didn't do well. It didn't do well. And he was so shocked because he was so successful in getting behind the scenes, because he was looking for something outside of himself and seeing, he saw what Jay was doing and what Jay's purpose was, and just said, okay, I'm just going to do what Jay is doing. That's his purpose. That's my purpose too. And then instead of looking inside himself and making the decisions and taking the risks based on what he was doing, what his dream, his inspiration, his vision was, and he didn't do that, and he made a mistake.
Right. But the thing about it is that mistake is okay, because he learned from it. afraid to make mistakes because they don't understand, or they'll make the same mistake over and over because they're not learning from that mistake. It is perfectly fine. And I tell my kids, I like, look, make a mistake. That's fine. As long as you learn from it. Because if you're learning from your mistakes, that means you're growing and you're not stagnant. When you're not learning from your mistakes, you're stagnant and you're in this constant loop of doing the same mistake-driven things. You know what I mean? So, like, to me, mistakes are fine. You know, it's just make sure you learn from them. And then also, don't learn this stuff that as far as your mistakes go just for yourself. Learn from your mistakes so you can help somebody else.
Yes, be a blessing to somebody else.
That's good stuff.
That's good stuff. Yeah.
And then what you just mentioned about Pharrell imitating Jay's tribe is different than Pharrell's tribe. So a lot of times we try to imitate and reproduce using somebody else's formula when we're not called to that segment of people. So that's not our tribe.
That wasn't his thing.
That wasn't
so
his thing.
He made his mistake. It's like also Albert Einstein found 9,000 ways how not to make a light bulb
before
he failed. He has documented so many failures. I think it's actually documented like 900 failures before he actually made the light bulb. But he continued and pressed on. So it's like the same thing as it fail fast. Fail 7 times and get back on
get back up 8. Yeah, in the book.
Get back on 8. And so when Pharrell did come back, look what he's doing. He's totally he had Happy that actually changed everything because Happy was about him. And how he felt. And what he was doing.
And it was genuine. It was a genuine song. You could see Pharrell being happy. You know what I mean? As a happy person. So if 50 did Happy, it wouldn't be right.
Exactly.
It wouldn't have jumped off.
Exactly.
So I mean, it was a genuine song, and what comes from the heart reaches the heart.
That's good.
That's some good stuff. So, Yes. So thank you for calling and saying that. Like,
thank you for having me.
Yes.
Don't forget his nickels.
I appreciate it.
Because you actually, I will say
all nickels. $5 and all nickels.
I know, because you actually, I might give you
$10. I'm gonna count them.
I might give you $10 because you put me on to what is the Idiot's Guide to Alchemy?
Yes.
There's a book.
One of the best books ever. I've read that book 3 times.
Wow.
Yes, that is the book.
It is, because there's so much in there. And like your first time going through it, you're like, oh wow, this is like mind blowing. And then the second time you go through it, it's like you start to kind of understand it, and the third time you go through it, it's just like, okay, so that's what that is. And then you start seeing stuff in your life that, you can make better through it. Alchemy is a daily practice. I mean, daily. I mean, I see stuff all the time. Like even I had to use it tonight because I had a situation at my rental property and it wasn't going the way that I wanted to. And I had to figure out a way to anchor me some happiness because I was getting mad. So it's a constant, it's a way of life, and really, to be honest with you, and I feel this to be true, that alchemy resonated with me a lot, is because it is and was originated in Africa, and it's still practiced, but when we came through the Middle Passage to America, we lost a lot of our heritage and a lot of the ways that we did things. And the Idiot's Guide to Alchemy, it kind of reconnected me to those things. Not all of them, but some of them. It helped me understand like why we do some things that we do.
Yeah, and
why food so good?
Yeah.
Why can we dance? Alchemy.
Yes. Thank you.
Why? I mean, we do things differently than anybody else, and there's a reason for that. And it's in our spirit, it's in our soul, and it's in our body. It surrounds us and it's within us.
Yes, definitely. So thank you, Michael. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
And so, what he's talking about, and we're going to wrap it up. an hour already. Can you believe
Wow.
it? But what he's talking about is the original alchemist, and that is turning lead into gold. And you know what we say sometimes today, making lemons into lemonade. It is this perspective. It is your focus. It is being focused on the positive things and actually having the faith and the willingness to walk in the dream that has been given to you by the Almighty. You have to get out and do you, beautiful people. So pick up the book. Pick up the book, listen to the audio, get the Idiot's Guide, talk to a friend, but become the alchemist and take your lead and make it abundant. Thank you, and have a good night.